بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Tonight's lesson will be on al-Marjan, Hadiths from Sahih Bukhari and from Sahih Muslim. Chapter number 43, volume 1, page 254. Babu Fadl al-Fatiha وخواتيم سورة البقرة والحث على قراءة الآيتين من آخر البقرة. حديث أبي مسعود البدري رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الآيتان من آخر سورة البقرة من قرأهما في ليلة كفتاه. It says the superiority of Surah Al-Fatiha and the last verses of Surah Al-Baqarah. An exhortation to recite the last two verses of Surah Al-Baqarah. So this chapter is continuing the discussion of some of the virtues that pertain to the Quran. He who memorizes it, recites it, prays at night, etc. Like we've been explaining for some time now. Now Abdul Qawi. Now a specific, finely tuned, in focus point. And that is specific surahs and specific ayat from specific surahs. From specific surahs. Naam. Specific ayat from specific surahs. Khutbah we did, I believe the week before last, the adequate passage. We spoke on the hadith of Abu Mas'ud al-Badri from Sahih Bukhari. And we mentioned some of the benefits that pertain to this hadith, which is hadith number 465. The Prophet ﷺ, as it was narrated by Abu Mas'ud, not Ibn Mas'ud, but Abu Mas'ud. And some of the ulama, they say that he wasn't from the people who fought in the battle of Badr. He wasn't from Ahlul Badr. He wasn't a Badri, a companion who witnessed that battle, whom we know have special virtues. Those who witnessed the battle of Badr have special virtues over those who have not witnessed the battle of Badr. And those who have witnessed the battle of Uhud have virtues over those who came and fought later on. وهكذا. And that's why it's mentioned in someone's biography, في ترجمة الصحابي, a person's biography who's a companion, and say Shahida Badran. He witnessed Badr. He witnessed Uhud. Shahida al-mashahida kullaha. He witnessed all of the battles with the Messenger of Allah from day one. He fought with him in every single battle. Naam. So Abu Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he never actually went to Badr, but some of the ulama, they said that he lived close to the place in which the battle of Badr was fought, near the water, near the well, or near that small body of water. He lived there, but he never actually was a companion who fought in the battle of Badr. He says that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ says, whosoever recited the last two verses of Surah Al-Baqarah at night, that will be sufficient for him. That will be sufficient for him. Now, this chapter here, in wal-Marjan, it does not discuss anything pertaining to Surah Al-Fatiha. Nor does it mention the khawatim, the ending parts of Baqarah. It only mentions the last two verses from Surah Al-Baqarah. And we know that the khawatim of Baqarah, whenever they're mentioned, in most cases, talking about the last three ayat. The last three. And not just the last two. No? The last three, right? So, where are the hadiths that pertain to Fatiha and the end of Surah Al-Baqarah? We know where they are. And we know the reason why the chapter heading is the way it is. Khairan, inshallah ta'ala. We've explained in the khutbah the adequate passage. In brief, some of the meanings of this hadith with regards to kafatahu. It will suffice him. It will hold him down. It will be more than enough for him. What does that mean? We explained that in brief. And what does it protect a person from? And what does it suffice a person from? Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, we'll read it again in brief. He says, قِيلَ مَعْنَاهُ كَفَتَاهُ مِنْ قِيَامِ اللَّيْلِ. Some say that he doesn't have to pray at night whenever he does that. Reading those two ayat will suffice him from the night prayer, which is a great virtue. وَقِيلَ, and others they say, مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ. It protects him from Satan, from the devil. Having a bad dream, a nightmare. Maybe having an argument in your house with your wife, fighting, abusing your children, going to sleep disobeying Allah, being a victim of anxiety, fears, depression. A person, waliyadhu billah, a child could be being molested by one of their parents or siblings or stepfather or stepmother, abused and raped, beat up. They recite those last two ayat, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala kafatahu. It will suffice him or her. And there lies no doubt that someone doing that to another Muslim is behaving like shaitan. If not, it's the actual, or the shaitan has power and control over that person. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. Now, many things the people they go through at nighttime. Many things that people go through at nighttime before they sleep. Some people disobey Allah when they sleep, before they sleep. Some people go to sleep with the intention to wake up and disobey Allah. Some people go to sleep in terror and they're afraid of their father storming in the room when the mom is asleep. Waliyadhu billah. This is a reality. Domestic abuse, violence, rape, molestation. These things, they exist in Muslim communities. They exist in Muslim homes, unfortunately. And there are many sisters that are scarred and damaged because of this. Anything which is from the shaitan. And others they say, وَقِيلَ مِنَ الْآفَاتِ وَيُحْتَمَلُ مِنَ الْجَمِيعِ. He says, and others they say, afat. Any type of afa, sickness or illness or deficiency. Any type of major happening of negativity, it will protect him therefrom. And he says all of these different interpretations are possible. They're all possible. They're all what? There's no contradiction between the two. Now, off track a little bit. This here is an example of a very important Quranic principle. An extremely important Quranic principle. And it's a Quranic principle that Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned in his introduction. And obviously, anyone who's read and studied and compared, he knows where Ibn Kathir got it from. In most cases, from Ibn Taymiyyah. From Ibn Taymiyyah. Ibn Qayyim is Ibn Taymiyyah's student. Okay, so Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah and others, they mention that oftentimes you read different interpretations of the pious predecessors regarding what a verse means or what a hadith means. And we find 4 different views. One is made by Ibn Mas'ud, one is made by Mujahid, one is made by Alqamah, and one is made by, let's say, Ikrimah. Alright? And the person, they said, well, it's confusing, and it's, I don't know which one to pick, or how can you say there's no difference about the Quran? There's a lot of difference about the Quran. Look, etc., etc., etc. Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala says, when you really break it down, and you look into those statements, the difference of opinion of the Salaf al-Salih regarding the tafsir of the Quran is very limited. And that's because oftentimes the different things that they say aren't different interpretations, but it's nothing more than a different spectrum. It's nothing more than a different shade of one spectrum. It's just a different example of the same thing. He who recites the last 2 verses from Surah al-Baqarah, it will suffice him, meaning from shaitan. And then another says it will suffice him from standing at night. In actuality, that's not necessarily contradictory, because many times people don't stand at night because of laziness, and laziness is from and something that is beloved to shaitan. Afat, sicknesses, illnesses, these problems, these harms, they're all connected. So if you were translating and interpreting for someone, and the person came from overseas, and he says, "Ma huwa al-khubz indakum?" What is khubz to you? And you yourself didn't know the specific translation for it. Let's say, for example, and you took him to the supermarket, and you walked in the aisle, and you grabbed a thing of wheat bread, said, "This is khubz." And he was another brother in the market, and he picked up sourdough bread, and the third picked up a bagel, and the fourth picked up a hero, roti, right? And can't forget that, right? Right, Sheikh? Wahagada. So in actuality, they showed them 6 or 7 different types of bread. But at the end of the day, it's all called what? Bread. Khubz. It's all the interpretation of what? Of khubz. So in actuality, there aren't 4 opinions on the verse. There's just one opinion, and that's just a different shade of that ayah, what it could mean and apply to. And understand this? So Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions this principle to minimize the presupposed difference of opinion regarding the Quran. And the same applies to the Hadiths as well. And this is a very important principle for those who attack Islam. And those who try to say that it's so much difference and they differed over every single thing, in actuality, it's not what? It's really the same, oftentimes. And of course, sometimes there are different views. Haqiqatan, yeah. There's actual khilaf tadad, yani. Everyone understand this principle? This is in brief, is extremely important, useful, practical principle for a student of knowledge. To properly understand the tafsir of the Salaf al-Salih. And to properly understand the speech of the people of knowledge regarding what something means and what it doesn't what it doesn't mean. Some of the ulama of Islam, they explain this hadith as well to say, because you see Nawawi's commentary here is extremely concise. The wisdoms behind these two verses sufficing him is that these two verses are comprehensive. And the most, or one of the most, if not the most comprehensive surah of the Quran, which is al-Baqarah. And these verses, they include everything that a person is to believe in and accept. Everything that a person is to believe in and accept. The whole entire aqidah of Islam is summed up in those verses. آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه والمؤمنون. Is that the messenger and the believers, they accept everything that has been sent down to them from their Lord. That includes any issue of aqidah, the shayateen, the angels, the hellfire, everything. And this goes to show you that whatever is sent down by Allah, you're to accept. You're not supposed to pick and choose what's convenient. I'll affirm this attribute to Allah, but I cannot affirm that attribute to Allah. And this is literal, this is ala-dhahir, ala-haqiqah, and this is mustahil. No. If it's sent down in the Quran and in the Sunnah, then you have to accept it. You have to accept it, alright? Also, the concept of submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, total submission, and giving yourself to Allah and for Allah, and submitting yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's mentioned in those verses, Surah al-Baqarah. And there are many other wisdoms why those two surahs, or those two ayats from that surah, have been selected. Khairan, inshallah. Another side issue that pertains to this hadith, or this hadith could possibly pertain to that issue, is the ruling of reading the Quran before you go to sleep without wudu, or with wudu, or in a state of janaba, or a woman who's menstruating. Naam? A woman who's menstruating. A sister, about a couple weeks ago, if not maybe last week, sister was from Germany, I believe. She said, my opinion is that a woman who's menstruating cannot recite the Quran. And she's not allowed to touch the Mus'haf, so on and so forth. But I find it very difficult to keep up and to review, etc. Now, this is a manifestation of one of the problems with that view. So if a woman is menstruating, let's say on average, 7 days out of every single month. 8 days a month. Maybe more, maybe less. Al-Muhim, let's say 7 days every month. So that's 7 whole days. That's a week in which you don't make no supplications to Allah that are included from the Quran. Do you imagine that? A week without the Quran? A week without reciting the Quran? Or a week without going and picking it up and reading it? Stop and think about that now. What type of effect is that going to have on your iman? Everyone understand this? Then obviously a person is going to say, well, she's leaving it off because of Islam. She's commanded not to do it. And what type of hadith? Hadith that's authentic? Hadith that's sahih? Or something that's other than sahih? Everyone understand this? And that's another discussion with regards to when a woman does not make salah because of menstruation. Does her iman decrease? Does her iman decrease? Some of the ulama of Islam, they say her iman decreases. Based off of a hadith that says, مَا رَأَيْتُ مِن نَاقِصَاتِ عَقْلٍ وَدِينٍ. He says, women who have deficient religion and deficient thinking. And he was talking about women who, when they menstruate, when they ask, what is the deficiency in our thinking? And what is the deficiency in our religion? And he says, أَلَيْسَ إِذَا حَاضَتْ لَمْ تُصَلِّ وَلَمْ تُصُمْ. When she menstruates, doesn't she avoid prayer and fasting? They said yes. He says, that is the nuqsan diniha. That is the deficiency of her religion. And other ulama, they say, rather, when a woman is menstruating, she does not pray, her iman does not decrease. And that is because the only reason why she's not praying and fasting is because of Allah and His Messenger. She's commanded not to pray. She's commanded not to fast. So how can someone who's commanded not to pray, not to fast, be punished with their iman decreasing? It's a very long discussion. The point is that if you go to sleep at night and you want to make it your habit to recite Ayatul Kursi, or your habit to recite these two ayats, Or you have it to recite Qul huwallahu ahad, Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq, Qul a'udhu bi rabbin nas. You're depressed, you're stressed out, you're going through a lot. Person has jinn possession or magic, sihr, whatever is going on. You may not be able to do that because you're what? Now menstruating. And that may be a what? A problem. That may be a what? Then that may be a problem. So that's a long discussion among the ulama of Islam with regards to a muhdith, someone who has hadith, major or minor, reading the Quran, touching it, reciting it, etc. Now, half of an ayah, a third of an ayah. It's a very, very, very long discussion. And oftentimes, some of those different difficulties and hardships that you may feel and experience can oftentimes, not all of the time, but oftentimes prove that that view is weak. And that's because إن اللازم يدل على الملزوم. فساد اللازم هذا يدل على فساد ملزوم. أو ضعف اللازم يدل على ضعف. وهكذا. والله تعالى أعلم. Next chapter says, باب فضل من يقوم بالقرآن ويعلمه وفضل من تعلم حكمة من فقه أو غيره فعمل بها وعلمها. حديث ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال لا حسد إلا في اثنتين رجل آتاه الله القرآن فهو يتلوه آناء الليل وآناء النهار ورجل آتاه الله مالا فهو ينفقه آناء الليل وآناء النهار. حديث عبد الله بن مسعود رضي الله عنه قال قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا حسد إلا في اثنتين رجل آتاه الله مالا فسلط على هلكته في الحق ورجل آتاه الله الحكمة فهو يقضي بها ويعلمها. Chapter number 47 says the superiority of the person who recites and acts according to the orders of the Quran and teaches it to others, and the superiority of the one who learns wisdom from the Islamic fiqh and other, and then acts on it and teaches it to others. So it says here, pertaining to the Quran once more, its recitation, its memorization, and also its teaching, is that those who learn the Quran and they stand at night and they practice it and they live by the Quran, and who's a teacher, he or she has a special virtue. And they're not like other people. They're not like other people. They have a special excellence. Okay? Also, the virtue of who learns hikmah, he who learns wisdom, or he who learns fiqh, knowledge of the deen, understanding of the deen, whether it's from the Quran or other than the Quran, and they teach it and they pass it on to others. What is the purpose of learning the Quran if you don't teach it and if you don't act upon it? It's like money in the dunya. Money is never ever a destination. And anyone who has money as a destination and his final destination is a fool. Money is nothing more than a means. It's a means, it's a bridge. With money, I can buy protection. With money, I said what? First you get the money, then you get the power, what? You get the respect. That's what he said. It's a reality. Money itself is not what? It's not the final destination. Money brings something. It comes with territory. I don't understand this or not. You guys with me? It's a reality. That's a true statement. Okay? With money, I can buy expensive things. With money, I can get, nice women, exotic women. With money, I can get nice clothes. With money, I can do this with security, protection, etc. But just to have money and to be without those things, what good is it? And that's why really wise people, even they're non-Muslims, who have a lot of money, they're not necessarily cheap. They spend money because they know that if you can't be happy, what's the purpose? And the people, they say, oh, Fulan got $1 million, he got $5 million, he got a record deal, or he became rich, or this and that, and he doesn't even buy himself a nice this, and he doesn't do this, and he doesn't do that, so on and so forth. I don't understand this. Or he's a fool. Look, he's not even, look at his shoes. Right? I don't understand this. Look at what he's driving. It's a reality in our communities. It's real. So the point is that, or no, that's not what I mean to say. It's not what I mean to say. What I mean to say is people, they say, oh, you spent all of your money. Your money is gone. You burnt it all up. He's stupid. How could he lose all of that money? How could he buy all that, or spend all that money on jewelry or on a mansion or on this scandalous woman or this and this that? That's easy for you to say. You don't have the money. But for the one who has that money, he just doesn't want to have the what? The money. No one wants to be wise with money. No one wants to, I'm going to save it and invest it. He wants to have what? Fun. He wants to have a life. He wants to be happy. He wants to be loved. He wants to be accepted. He wants to be something special. So that is why he spends his money. And not just, I'm a football player now, let me immediately put all my money up, save everything until I break my knee and I can't play no more. Who wants to do that? Because the money itself is not the destination. The money is nothing more than the bridge to the destination. Everyone understand this? That's one thing. Secondly is, many people, they say money doesn't bring happiness. Money does not cause happiness. Money isn't happiness. No and yes. Money, without a question, is a major ingredient to happiness. It's not the only ingredient. It doesn't guarantee happiness, but it is a what? An ingredient. And that's because money brings other things which lead to happiness, such as comfortability, such as security. Everyone understand this? Being comfortable, being nice. And you know how you feel when you put some really nice shoes on. Or how you feel when you get a new car. You know how you feel on Friday and you get your check. Your extra overtime, right? You know how you feel. You feel what? No question about that. In which you can buy your wife something, or take your kids out, or do this or do that, or give sadaqah, whatever you want to do. So this money is an ingredient to what? To happiness. There's no doubt about that. But it doesn't guarantee happiness. Oftentimes it can be a curse. It can make you miserable. It can make you depressed and make you want to kill yourself. But that's when the money is mismanaged and mishandled. But if the money is handled properly and it's managed properly, and it's supposed to bring you what? It's supposed to bring you comfort, which is supposed to lead to happiness. We're making this up? It's reality. So we should be mindful of these things, huh? Be mindful of these things. Tell you. So therefore, when it comes to money, what's the purpose of holding on to it if you're going to be miserable? What's the point of making it? And when it comes to ilm, knowledge, what's the purpose of you not spreading it and giving it to others? What is the benefit of you just having so much knowledge and no one can benefit from it? And don't even look at it from a concept of rewards and good deeds, and you're going to be punished if you don't teach your knowledge. Just your own personal happiness. How good does it feel when I have a faida and I want to do what? With you. Look this, check this out. I want you to taste it, the passion. If that's not the case, if I know all of the super knowledge and you don't know any of it, what good is it? For myself. Let alone hasanat, the obligation of teaching, sacrificing. Let alone you were overseas people, they supported you, they helped you out. They looked after you. For what purpose? For you to teach and to bring a benefit back to the community. So getting knowledge just for yourself and getting knowledge for no one else, yani, it's a very sad thing, all right? And unfortunately, there are many of us who fall into this. And there are many brothers who take different stances and positions towards this. Some of them may say it openly, publicly. Others may say it with their actions. Some may actually say it. I'm not trying to be a sheikh. I don't want to be nothing special. I'm nobody's role model. I'm not a daya. I'm not a student of knowledge. But you graduated from the college. I came to do that for myself and my family. I live in Saudi Arabia. I'm an English teacher. I get this fat tax-free check, this comfortable home, my GMC, and that's what? Hey, you know, every now and then I'll set up a telelink. Every now and then I'll take the brothers on Umrah to get some thobes made, and that's it. The sisters can come over to my house with my wife. They have a henna party and a tea party. That's it. I'm not doing no classes for you. I'm not coming back to America. I'm not going to no masjid. That's your problem. I sought knowledge for myself. That's a problematic statement. Or someone who makes it a burden to teach knowledge. A difficulty to teach knowledge. He's not willing to make him or herself available to teach and to pass on anything the law has given him. Or those who say, I'm going to have a regular job for 10 hours out the day, 12 hours a day, then I'll do knowledge on the side as a volunteer. I don't want to take no money from no masjid. I don't want to take no money from no brothers. I don't want to be refuted. I don't want to be talked about. I want to do it myself. Maybe you can. But can you dedicate yourself to something and it isn't your means of survival? Your means of survival. Who's going to be better at something? Something that they can do when they choose to do it, or something which is a means of their livelihood to do it? Who's going to be more devoted and dedicated? Who's going to take it more seriously? Without a question. Because even if you don't feel like doing it, you what? You have to do it. And you put yourself in a situation in which there's so many people expecting and waiting on you to do something in which you don't have a choice to allow laziness or sickness or being busy to prevent you from your responsibilities. But when you make it as a vacation, I'm a little tired today. I won't do the class. Or, you know, my daughter, she's sick, so I won't do the class. Or whatever excuse they make in which they don't do the class. in which you're not really devoted to knowledge. You're not really dedicated to knowledge. Okay? And devotion and dedication has signs. And lack of devotion and lack of dedication also has signs. May Allah help us and make us devoted and dedicated to knowledge. And anything else beneficial that we seek after of the deen and of the dunya. So therefore, this is very important that you learn to teach. You learn to benefit others. And there may be a level in your studies in which you may not be learning for yourself anymore. Or you learn for yourself in a minimum. And you may be reading and studying and reviewing just for the benefit of people. You know the basics. You know the simple things. You don't have to study this, but you now have to deal with people that will ask you that question. And we'll need one person in the room to have the fiqh. What's the answer? Everyone understand this? So all of these concepts pertain to this chapter. Of learning the Quran and teaching it. Learning the hikmah and teaching it. Learning fiqh and doing what? Teaching it to others. And most importantly, practicing it yourself. And not allowing people to learn while you destroy yourself. Right. The first hadith is narrated by Ibn Umar. Hadith number 466. It's very similar to the hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, hadith 467. He quotes that the Prophet ﷺ says, or he narrates from the Prophet ﷺ who said, La hasada illa fitnataini. He says there should be no hasad. There should be no jealousy and no envy ever. There cannot be no jealousy. There cannot be no envy. Unless it pertains to one or two types of people. Or one or two scenarios. In this hadith here, it doesn't say there are two people that you can envy and the rest that you cannot. But the hadith establishes La hasada. There's no envy. That's the default. La ilaha illallah. Nafi qabla al-ithbat. There's no God but Allah. There's no deity of worship but Allah. No one should be worshipped. No one deserves to be worshipped but Allah. That's not the same as a person saying Allah deserves to be worshipped. Or even if you said Allah deserves to be worshipped alone, that's still not the same strength. Who's standing up in the room? Everybody's sitting down except for Zayd. Zayd is the only one standing up, and the other people are sitting down. Zayd's standing and they're sitting. There's different ways of saying this. So the Prophet clearly establishes, he says, La hasada. There's no jealousy. That's the asl, that's the default. Is that you are not allowed to be envious and jealous. You're not allowed to do that. And FYI, the word in English language, jealousy and envy, sometimes they have a different meaning, and sometimes they are exact. They are totally synonymous. And many people, they say, oh, it's a difference, you can't say that. That's not true. Many classical English lexicons and thesauruses, envy and jealousy are the same. And sometimes they have a different meaning. Rather, they could even be the usage of the word I'm jealous in English, which is improper Islamically. Even if it isn't as bad as I'm envious. Or even the opposite. You say, I envy you in a good way. And the person is jealous. A jealous girlfriend. You understand this? I hate her. I want to do this. I want to do that. So they go back hand in hand. Just like polygamy and polygyny. All right. And especially people that say you can't say polygamy in Islam. It has to be polygyny. That's not true. In English, that's not true. Secondly is, in Islam, can a woman marry more than one man? Of course not. So it's no need for us to say polygyny. Because we already know what's meant by polygamy or monogamy. Everyone understand this? So oftentimes people, they read one book or one dictionary and they, take off. Oh, you can't say that. No. Slow down. Relax. In English. Let alone what? Or Islam. But even the what? English language. So we have to be proper when we say these things. Moving forward. It says no jealousy except for one of two. Or one or two characteristics. The first is Rajulun atahu Allahu al-Quran. Is a man whom Allah has given the Quran. So you being hafiz of the Quran and memorize the Quran is a gift from Allah. Cherish that gift. It's not because of what you look like or where you come from. It's not because of your background. It's a gift that Allah chose to give you. It's a gift that Allah gave you. But not only has Allah given him the Quran, the Hadith says, فَهُوَ يَتْلُوهُ أَنَاءَ اللَّيْلِ وَأَنَاءَ النَّهَارِ. And he recites it at night and at day. All the time. He's stuck and he's connected to the Quran. He's practicing the Quran. And this pertains to the hadith of, what some of the ulama, they say regarding forgetting the Quran. How forgetting the Quran can be a sin. How it can be a sin. Some of them may say it's a sin. And that's because a person doesn't forget the Quran unless he has ignored it and neglected it. You just don't forget it. Everyone understand this? Right, moving forward. The second person whom you are allowed to envy, he says, وَرَجُلٌ أَتَاهُ اللَّهُ مَالًا, is a man whom Allah has given wealth. Allah gave you the money. It's a gift from Allah, so cherish it and know that it came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't be a Scrooge with your money, because it's not your money. Allah gave it to you. Allah lent it to you. And Allah could take it back whenever He wants to. The two men in the garden. One had a lush garden full of trees and fruits and things like this. He had more wealth and he had more children than his friend. And he says, perhaps Allah Azza wa Jalla will give me good. And your garden will become what? Sa'idan zalaqa. Nothing of no use. Your garden may go away. May be destroyed and damaged. Burnt up. So just because you have something now doesn't mean you want to keep it. If you don't respect the law and respect the rights of Allah. And if you do not respect the servants of Allah regarding that gift. The ilm or the money or whatever that thing is that Allah has given you. So this man, he spends this money at the day or in the day and in the night. He's always generous. There's not a thing or time in which he's not generous. I'm grumpy. I just woke up. Don't ask me. I'm tired. Don't ask me. I just paid my bills. Don't ask me. I just did my taxes. Don't ask me. Whenever you catch this person is what? He's generous. That's a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Obviously, the second hadith is the hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. And it is very similar to the previous hadith of Ibn Umar. Whereas he says here, فَصُلِّتَ عَلَى هَلَكَتِهِ فِي الْحَقِّ. He says Allah has given a man hikmah. And that's a very, very deep word in itself. We explained that hadith in Birmingham, the Green-Eyed Monster, and the importance of that hadith, and the danger and the impermissibility of envy, and what it leads to, and how it can destroy a pious and righteous person. It can destroy a pious and a righteous person. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says regarding this hadith, he says, قال العلماء الحسد قسمان حقيقي ومجازي. فالحقيقي تمني زوال النعمة عن صاحبها وهذا حرام بإجماع الأمة مع النصوص الصحيحة. And we also explain this as well in Birmingham and Green Lane regarding what Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala said, the 10 ways of protecting yourself from hasad. Remember that was after Fajr, right? I think we did. That's when the brother said the 9th point was serious. He said you need to go what? Coventry White Lane, He says forget these Sufis and what? He says we know it's 2 masjids, what? So the brother said, He said you know what's going on, akhi. Indeed, you know. Tayyib. It says here that the ulama, they say, hasad is of 2 types. It's of 2 types. One is real hasad, and another is make-believe hasad. Literal or figurative. So the real type of hasad is for a person to want another servant of Allah to be stripped of the blessing of Allah. It's to want the blessing of Allah to be taken away from someone, regardless whether you want it or not. Pay attention. I don't want the money. I can't handle the money, but I don't want you to have it. And this, Allah Musta'an, is what many people have, especially the internet gangsters, the thumb scholars. No question, it's reality. No doubt. They talk about, Fulan, all the time you spent overseas in Medina, such and such and such and such, right? They go make Hajj, go make Umrah, wallahi, we saw them complaining. Brothers in Mina complaining, talking to his wife in the other tent. Bring me some tuna fish and some crackers, I'm hungry. I want a steak. I'm tired of eating this cold food, this rabbit food. I'm tired of eating this stale food. Wallahi, we saw people, brother, he said in a minute, he says, I'm a doctor in New York City, I'm a doctor. So I can't eat this trifling food, I'm a doctor. I pay for the top Hajj package and they give me this rotten food. Wallahi. People, they complain about it being hot overseas and the people is driving. I want to go back home and I miss back home. In other words, the point I'm trying to get to is what? What's the point? Is that you don't have the stamina to stay in Medina for 20 years. You don't have it in you. It's not in you to make a stretch like that. to be away from your family for all of those years. And another brother goes overseas, he studies for a very long time, and they want to take the blessing away from him. What good were your studies? What good, what good, what good, what good? They themselves don't really want that what? They don't want the blessing that Allah gave him. But they don't want what? Him to have it. You didn't benefit from it. What good was it? So on and so forth. Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. But the bottom line is, you can't walk around with the necessary respect that you deserve just for the amount of time. Forget everything else. Just the amount of time. This person lived in the Prophet's city for all of that time. What did the brother do when I came back? Remember in Brooklyn? He hugged me and he started what? Started smelling me. He said, you just came what? From Medina. Respect. So I can't live in Medina for that time. I can't study like you studied. I can't do what you do, but I don't want you to what? For you to get the things that come with that. All right? Or anything else. A person is miserable, how they look. I don't want to look like you, but I don't want you to be handsome or beautiful or attractive or whatever the blessing is. Whatever the what? Whatever the blessing may be. Many of us are like this, wretched. Waliyadhu billah. So a person, he wants the blessing to be taken away from someone else. Regardless, whether he's going to get it, give me the money, give me the knowledge, give me the strength, give me the good looks. Or I don't want it, but I definitely what? I want you to have it. And obviously one is worse than what? The other. So that's the real type of hasad. Whether you call that in English envy or jealous, that's the real type of hasad. All right? And the second type he says here, before that he says here, and this is haram. This is unlawful. According to all of the ulama. مع النصوص الصحيحة. انتبه. ليس فقط إجماع. هناك أدلة ثابتة. With the text of the Quran and the Sunnah. He says, وأما المجازي فهو الغبطة وهو أن يتمنى مثل النعمة التي على غيره من غير زوالها عن صاحبها. As far as the second type of envy or jealousy, then it's called غبطة. غبطة. And غبطة is for you to want something similar to what Allah has given someone else. But I don't want it to be stripped and taken away from you. I want you to have it. I want Allah to make you happy, but I want it too. Allah, make me a strong, brave warrior like you made this one. He's fearless. Allah, give me strength. I'm a coward. I have a weak physical body. Give me physical strength like him. Make me like him. Everyone understand this? When I see the brother talk, subhanAllah, man, I wish I could talk like that. Not, oh, I hate him. And he's a shaitan. And don't listen to anything he says. He mixes the what? The truth with the what? With the batil. Everyone understand this? To want what someone else has, but what? Not want them to be ruined. Everyone understand this? He says here, فَإِنْ كَانَتْ مِنْ أُمُورِ الدُّنْيَا كَانَتْ مُبَاحَةً. As far as if it's a worldly blessing, then it's permissible to have this ghibta. It's permissible. I want a nice car too. I would like to have a nice wife as well. I would like to have good things as well. All right? It's permissible. It's not recommended. It's not obligatory. It's not disliked. Nor is it haram. It's what? Mubaha. It's unprescribed. If you want to do it, do it. If you don't want to what? Don't do it. He says, when kana ta'atan fi mustahabba. As far as if it's a worldly, a religious practice, then it's recommended to have that type of jealousy. It's recommended to wish and to ask Allah for that. Oh Allah, make me righteous, make me knowledgeable, make me pious. Give me the ability to spend my wealth in Allah's cause. Wahakadha. Everyone understand this? It's something that you should do. Something that you should do. No, he then says, wal-Marjan bil hadithi. He says, and that which is meant by the hadith, la ghibtata mahbuba illa fi hatayn al-khaslatayn wa ma fi ma'nahuma. He says the hadith means there is no ghibta except for one of these two. The ghibta which is praiseworthy, which is a good thing, in which I am jealous. Fulan wrote this book explaining these hadiths. I say, what? I'm jealous, man. I wish I could have done that. That's service to the sunnah. I wish I could have had the nobility of being the first person to translate that book, or the first person to explain that book. I want that on my scale of good deeds. For him to put such a scholarly work on a major book of hadith, I envy him. I say, I envy you. You have the ability to travel. You go to so many different places when you want to. I envy you. Meaning in a what? In a good way. In a good way. I admire you, in other words. And I wish that I could be like you. But I know that that's not what Allah gave me. And that wasn't my destiny. But I do respect you for it. Everyone understand this? Another he then says here, طيب خيرا إن شاء الله. طيب. Now he says here والحكمة كل ما منع من الجهل والزجر عن القبيح. انظر يعني تعريف مختصر فيه حلاوة. He says wisdom, what's meant by the word wisdom? He says the word hikmah, listen to his definition. He says كل ما منع من الجهل is each and everything that prevents you from ignorance. Each and everything that prevents you from behaving ignorantly. وَزَجْرَ عَنِ الْقَبِيحِ, and it inhibits you from repulsiveness. Things that are repulsive, looked down upon, dirty, bad things, negative things. Anything that prevents you from acting like a fool, and anything that prevents you from doing that which is looked down upon. He says that's what? That's hikmah. What is wisdom? Nobody different what wisdom is. In Arabic, in Islam, and outside of Islam. What is and what isn't what? Hikmah. He says that's what hikmah is. Break that down now. Laughing, walking, wearing this, dressing like this, going here, asking this person. If it makes you look like an ignorant fool, then it's what? Unwise. It's not what? It's not hikmah. And that which is qabih, that which is looked down upon, disrespecting your elder, being mean to someone who's younger, abusing someone who's weaker than you, etc. He's too wise for that. Everyone understand this? Being noble. Being what? That's what it is. Hikmah is what? Nobility. Everyone understand this? Because a noble person doesn't behave like a what? Like a fool. Ever. If it's something that he doesn't know, what does he do? He keeps his what? Mouth shut. He does not talk. He doesn't say anything about it. He may have an opinion. He may be right. But that's not my specialty. That's not my field. They don't need me to talk, so I'm going to do what? I'm going to remain quiet. So I never ever look like a fool. Even though I may be ignorant. I don't know how to recite this surah. I don't know how to say this word in Arabic. But I'm going to speak English. I'm not going to leave anyone the ability to laugh at me when I say it messed up. Everyone understand this? Never be a fool. Huh? And no one knows you're ignorant until you what? Until you start talking. Then it says, wow, this person really is what? A fool. Everyone understand this? And secondly is qabih. Is that which is repugnant and repulsive. You may want it. You may have the ability to do it. But how's it going to look? What are they going to say? What's going to happen if I'm caught, if I'm in this situation? That's unwise. I can spend the money somewhere else. I can spend my time somewhere else. I can spend my energy somewhere else. Anything that comes to your mind. The angels, being shy in front of Allah, being shy in front of the people. Well, how could that? It prevents you from qabih. Then that's what? That's hikmah. And that is being wise. Being what? Being wise. Now, obviously, wisdom and the discussion of it is a very, very, very long topic. And I would say, humbly, this is one of the most important things that we should instill in our children at a young age. It's how to be wise and how to make wise decisions. With money. With their physical bodies. With their friends. Or whatever they do. It's how to critically think what? With wisdom. Don't be a fool, son. Don't be a fool, daughter. Listen, pay attention. Do it like this. Don't do it like that. Think about it. Think about the consequences. Don't think about how it's going to feel immediately, but think about how it's going to feel later on. So there are many things that you have to instill in your children. I think that wisdom is definitely, not the first, but it's up there. Being wise. And that includes taqwa. That includes muraqabah. Being mindful that Allah sees you. That includes respecting your parents. Obeying your parents. Respecting your elders. That includes so many different things. Huh? Saving money. Not spending your money, etc. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. This hadith, as we've explained, it shows that hasad is haram. It's impermissible. And the last thing that I would like to say is be mindful. وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا تُرْجَعُونَ فِيهِ إِلَى اللَّهِ. Be mindful of a day in which you will return to Allah. Be mindful of that. So if you're talking about somebody, especially, and I'm talking specifically to internet gangsters, if you're talking about somebody online, make sure that your intentions are sincere. And make sure that you have the proper knowledge about what you're talking about. And make sure that you don't have no personal agenda or motives in talking about somebody. Because if you don't make if you don't check off those boxes, there's a big possibility that you're only talking about that person because of hasad. Because of hasad. And if a person is a deviant and they're going to the fire of hell and Allah is angry with them for being with Ahlul Bid'ah or reviling the scholars or whatever they're doing in your book, then you're also disobedient to Allah and you're also going to the fire of hell for being what? Hasad. That's what? Haram is what? As well. And that's a means of going to the hellfire what? As well. The hellfire is just not made for people al-Bid'ah, yani. Many people will lie, they think this. Whether they say it with their tongues, which they won't, or their actions clearly what? Prove. Drinking alcohol sends you to fire. Beating up your wife, what? Sends you to the fire. Everyone understand this? Loving the kuffar, being friends with the kuffar, obeying the kuffar, blowing up Muslims, that also sends you what? To the fire. And being a hater also will send you to the fire. There's not no just, Hizbis will burn in Jahannam, and that's it. No other sin is punishable. That's what many people they think. They think this. Who taught them this? Who misled them? Who misguided them? Who took those ignorant, stupid fools and gave them the power and the ability to talk and to speak about people who have spent their lives learning the deen and dictate and determine who's above who? This scholar is bigger than this one. We return our fears back to that one and not to this one. Who gave them that ability? Who gave them that audacity? Only Allah knows what his scale of deeds is going to look like on the day of judgment. But what's important is make sure that you're not a hater. Make sure that you don't have hasad. All right? And the other things as well. And if you do have those things, then perhaps it's permissible for you to talk about that person. Perhaps, we said. And if not, look yourself in the mirror. Do I really hate him for Allah's sake? Do I hate my Christian neighbors the same way I hate this deviant person? Do I hate my Kafir grandmother the same way? Do I hate this mushrik who's blowing up Muslims, killing Muslims, in which armies raping Muslim women inside of masjids, using minarets as target practice? Do I hate them with the same level of intensity as I hate this person who made a statement against the scholars? Or he supports Ahlul Bid'ah and he talks about the Salafis. Are you really sincere in your hatred for them? And if you are, do you hate the rest of the people who have angered Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the same way? We know the answer. But I'm calling each and every one of you to look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself that question before it's too late. Because it's not a joke. It's not a joke. And you're going to be taken to account for all of the envy and the nastiness that you spew out against people. So be mindful of this. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best.